All right, so Complex reported we had covered a little bit about the Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion situation that was I think we did a video on that a couple of months ago. I believe it was like a reaction to a reaction or something. I don't
Yeah,
remember, but it
no,
was like
actually this
Joe
was a
Budden.
year ago. It was August of
Right,
2020, and we were reacting to Joe Budden's podcast where he was covering
right.
this story. Now, this was when Mal and Rory were still part
Still
of the
on the show,
show.
yeah.
So we'll be sure to link that if you want to watch it because we kind of go through, we see pictures of what happened to Megan Thee Stallion, and we go a little more of a deep dive, but this is our follow-up of what's been going on.
And that's just another thing that just goes to show how long these cases take when you're going through these lawsuits. I mean, we first reported on the situation a year ago, and here we are right now with the update.
Yeah, well,
um
and remember when we had the original reaction video, they were not sure whether the police, I think LAPD, was looking and investigating. So they weren't sure whether they were going to actually bring charges. So based on the evidence and what they found, they decided to bring charges. So here we are today.
so I'm reporting on this from Complex, and the headline reads: No plea deal for Tory Lanez reached in felony assault case involving Megan Thee Stallion, hearing set for December. And we go on with it. Even though Tory Lanez had reportedly engaged in talks about a settlement with prosecutors, the rapper has not reached a plea deal in his felony assault case involving Megan Thee Stallion. Rolling Stone reports the 29-year-old Canadian did not reach a plea deal by the November 3rd deadline, and his defense lawyer Sean Hawley agreed to a December 14th preliminary hearing on behalf of her client. The hearing is expected to include 90 minutes of testimony per Los Angeles County Deputy District Attorney Kathy Ta. The hearing will decide whether the case will go to trial. And as in every case, the lawyers for the parties discuss the possibility of resolving the case, said Kathy Ta. This case is no different. That said, our position as to what did and did not happen is in this matter remains unchanged. Lane's real name, Daystar Peterson. Now that's something I didn't know. I didn't know his first name was Daystar. What a cool name!
Yeah, I know. I know.
It has
I wonder
nothing to
why the
do with
artist.
anything. Why he
Yeah.
changed it? Why he went to Tory Lanez instead of just going by Daystar? That's cool.
Yeah.
Uh, Way off topic. His real name, Daystar Peterson, allegedly shot Megan Thee Stallion in her feet following an argument during the early hours of July 12th, 2020, as you mentioned. The two had attended a Hollywood Hills party and left in an SUV, and Lanez is facing two pending charges. In September, Ta said that the rapper's defense team had engaged in meaningful discussions about reaching a plea deal. The two parties were given until November 3rd to meet a deal, with preliminary hearings to come in December. I was shot in both of my feet, and I had to get surgery to get that shit taken out, get the bullets taken out, said Megan Thee Stallion in a video shared last year. It was super scary. It was like just the worst experience of my life. Thank God the bullets didn't touch my bones. They didn't break tendons. She only revealed the identity of her shooter approximately 2 months after the incident, and he has denied the allegations. So that's where
Yeah.
we are right now.
So when we covered this last year, we were, getting into the discussions about the fact that, Megan Thee Stallion finally got on her Instagram story, I think it was, and she just said, "I wasn't planning on addressing this," because all of a sudden she was getting blowback, and people were like, "Is she snitching?" and just saying a lot of stuff about her. And she goes, "You know what? I'm now hearing stuff from his PR team, and they're releasing things to the press." Having to do with what happened and not being truthful. And so she got on, a live stream and she's like, no makeup. And she goes, "I just got to lay it out." And that's when finally, while she was reluctant to talk about it
That was a
and
powerful
admit what had
video.
happened, yeah, she finally got on that live stream and she goes, "No,
Yeah.
he shot me." And she goes, "I will not basically, have you drag me through the mud or have your team drag me through the mud." And so after that, we were talking about, all right, so will there be criminal prosecution? Because what I explained in that video is that her bringing a lawsuit is what's called a civil lawsuit. If the state brings criminal charges, that has nothing to do with her. She can't stop that
Right.
process. And
Right.
so I just go, it's in motion now. We'll see what happens. And we saw that they actually brought those criminal charges.
So definitely
Now,
something that we're going to be following up on, because it's going to get real interesting from here on
yeah,
out.
so yeah, what's going to happen is that they're going to have that hearing now in December, and then it's likely to go to trial if there's no change from here. And so I think that's a pretty big deal because what's on the line right now is that with those two criminal charges, he could be found liable and go, he could be in prison for up to 20
Prison,
years.
right? Yeah.
Okay? So a 20-year sentence is kind of what's on the line right now. So, I'm a plea deal, right? What would it typically look like? Had he taken it, it probably would have been, an admission of guilt of some kind. Maybe he, would have to do some time. And obviously, whatever was on the table wasn't good enough. And he said, nope.
Maybe he got something like, like you'd have to do 5 years. You couldn't own any guns. You couldn't, whatever it was. And he was just like, I'm not going to jail for 2 years, let alone 5. I mean, I'm literally just speculating, but I'm just trying to think of why he wouldn't, if he's facing up to 20 years. Usually, from my viewing of TV, I always see that when these people are offered plea deals, man, I almost like, just take those things, get out of there. What are you doing?
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think the charges, one was for obviously shooting her, and I think the other one was for having possession of a firearm without having the proper license, that kind of thing. So, man, I mean, I'm glad she stood up for herself, and from here we'll kind of see what happens.
Yep, for sure.